So let me show you what you're going to assemble. This is the box, and it opens short side to the left, large side to the right, and then it's got the box section at the bottom and the two spines. So the first thing to do is to assemble this box section, because that gets stuck together with glue, and then while it's drying we'll put the album cover together. So it doesn't matter whether you're using pre-cut MDF parts or you've cut your own chipboard parts. You want to put all of the album or the box section to one side. I'm going to show you how to cut the holes in a minute if you're working on chipboard, but you want to have your box pieces. So these are they. So there is a narrow long strip, two deeper long strips, and then the two end pieces. And working on a craft mat or a cellophane bag or any non-stick surface, you want to put glue around the narrower of your pieces, just on the top of the short ends and the outer edge of the long sides. Then pop it down on your work surface, and then take one side piece, bring it up and hold it in place just until it holds and stands up by itself, and then do the same with the other piece. And then take your end pieces, and they're going to sit on top of the base. So you want, and inside the side pieces, so you want to add glue along the very edges. Just dabs. This Anita's glue is very good actually. It grabs really quickly and I am enjoying using it. So you want to press that end piece in and then just line up the corners, so jiggle around so that the ends are nice and straight, and then do the same with the other one. So you're putting the longer edge is your vertical edge and your shorter edge is the horizontal edge, and it sits on the chipboard and between the sides. And then once you've got those ends in, you can press those corners together, line them up, and then just to make sure that you've got them completely square, just tip your box up and press down in those ends just to make sure that they're sitting square, and then use a damp paintbrush just to get rid of any excess glue that's oozed out of the joints. Push it back into the joint, and that will just help that piece to stick all the way around. You don't need to worry about the outside because we're going to cover that in the black tape in a minute. Ooh, once it's completely dry. So fiddle around until you're happy. Maybe I didn't put any glue on there. Put a bit more on. Get it nice and square. It doesn't want to go square. For some reason, it's all falling apart. That's it. Right, I'm just going to put that to one side on the craft mat because we don't need that, and leave it to dry. The next thing you want to do is to put, if you're working on the chipboard pieces, is to put your holes into the chipboard. No rocket science. It's 1 inch in from the long edge and 1 inch in from the top edge, top and bottom on the smaller piece. And then from your taped edge, you want to come down 1 inch and across 2 inches, and that's to the centre of your hole, top and bottom. So when these pieces go together, pieces like that. That's how they go. Let's turn it round. So you've got the taped edges together. Flip it over. I'm getting confused. It will work in a minute. So the easiest way to punch your holes is to use a pair of scissors. If you've got a crocodile, it will reach in 1 inch and punch the hole that side. However, it won't do here. So, and the holes need to be big enough to take the magnets. So even using the big bite, it still doesn't give you a hole that's big enough. You could start your hole off with the big bite if you wanted to. But I just push my scissors through the centre of the hole, making sure that my fingers are out of the way on the other side. And if you go round and round and round with your scissors, you can make a hole big enough just to snip away the edges and for the magnet to fit inside. It doesn't have to be an exact circle, it's all going to be covered up, but it does need to be big enough for the magnet to sit flat inside the hole. So once you feel you've got a decent sized hole, just start snipping off the chipboard layers that have lifted up. It looks very unsightly, but believe me, it works. And then come in on the other side and do the same. And then you might want to have a nail file or a sanding block handy, and I'll show you why in a minute. So just go around, trim those bits off, just get them out of the way. And then if you take a nail file and just sand over the top on both sides, it just gets rid of most of the bits, and then you can snip out anything left. And then just take one of your magnets and just check whether it will sit in the hole, and that's sitting in just fine. And then you repeat that for all of the holes. Just keep your fingers out of the way, like that. Snip off that excess. Of course, if you're using the MDF pre-cut covers, you haven't got to do this. And then just file the board nice and flat on both sides. And check that your magnet fits in the hole. Perfect. So now we're ready to put the album cover together. So let's lay the pieces out again. So large one in the centre, and then the wider one to the right, and the narrow one to the left. And then just check when you bring the right hand piece, the left hand piece over, and the right hand piece over, when they sit together, the magnets need to be, or the holes need to sit over each other. So if you haven't got it in the right place, they won't sit correctly. So I'm just going to turn that round so that let's not do that. It's going to go that way, isn't it? That's it. I've just swapped it round again, haven't I? So now you've got your holes in your chipboard pieces. Whether you're using chipboard pieces that you've cut yourself or MDF pieces, you want to edge your sections. So you edge top and bottom of the centre section and the two either side, your two spines, and the top and bottom and outer edge by the holes of that smaller piece. And let me show you how to do that. You take your tape and stick it half on, half off the edge of the board. Snip it to fit. Whoops. Getting tangled in the scissors. And then snip to fit. And then just gently take your fingers and press that over the edge. Now here you want to just angle your corners at the end. Wherever you've got a tape edge sitting on top of a taped edge, you want to angle your corners. That gets rid of the tape at the edge of the board. And then don't worry if you over tape, the tape is that thin, it won't show between the layers of the paper that you're going to add. For the last one, you take a piece of tape that's slightly longer than the length of the edge that you want to decorate, and you sit the tape just slightly over the edge at either end, and then trim it to fit, so a straight cut to trim the tape to fit. Let's get rid of those ends. A good scissor to use is a titanium scissor, because the tape sticks to the scissor and the scissors don't stick to the tape. And then you're going to just angle those corners back on both ends, again to get rid of them so they don't curl up under the paper that you're going to stick on later. And then you press along that edge and press down either side, and you get a really lovely finish which hides the edge of the MDF or the chipboard. Just gives it a nice professional finish to your project. Okay, so then pop your pieces in one long line, but just make sure that when you fold the right hand piece in and you lift the left hand piece up and over and bring the left edges together, that your holes are sitting over each other. And then to help with the next stage, so just lift that up and over, just draw a pencil line across the middle of the pieces. So we've got the wide, so W or left hand spine on the left, and the narrow or the right hand spine on the right. That might help you not to get mixed up with your spine pieces, because it does matter which side they go. And then we can just move these out of the way. We're going to start adding or joining the pieces from the left. So we're going to take these two pieces, always keep the line on the inside. We want to turn the centre spine over, and we want to put tape under this edge. So I'm going to turn it over so the edge is nearest to me, and you want to take a piece of tape that is slightly longer than the length of the board. Flip it back over so you've got sticky side facing you. Take your cover piece, flip it over so that you've got the lines together, and sit one over the other, making sure that you've got those side edges nice and straight together. And then you lift up and press both edges of both pieces down onto your work surface and then over. And then you want to press, but only on the board or the wood. Open out, so pull that joint, it's a double width joint, and then you bring your tape over, stick it down, bring it over nice and tightly at either end, and then just put a piece of tape over the centre to join them. You can use these tape lines as guidelines where to start and stop your tape. All of this will get covered, so don't worry about it. And then when you press the spine over the cover piece, the two layers of tape stick together and you get a really nice joint. So then you want to flip it over again so you can't see the lines. Take your tape, half on, half off. I've run out. Let's get a new tape. So half on, half off. remembering to have about an inch sticking out at either end. Bring that over. Then bring your centre board in, so the larger centre board. Lines together. Lay one piece over the other. So you're laying the centre board over the spine section. And then line up your ends and bring the whole thing up and over towards you. Press down on the board or the chipboard. Knock the ends, open out, pull it until it's flat. Bring your tails in and cover the gap. Let's just trim that one down. And then fold over, and then you get that really nice joint. And then flip the whole piece over. So we're going to put tape onto the long side of the centre board, half on, half off, sticking out at the ends. Press it down, flip it over, and bring your narrow spine in. You're going to lay that over the top, pencil lines together. It's a bit like dressmaking. And then flip up, over, just press the edges of the board down onto your work surface and flip right over. Press on the board or the wood, open out. So this really is a quick way to put your covers together. Without any split outside edges on your spines. So cover the gap, bring it over so that those tapes stick together. Flip over again. This is the last one now. So half on, half off. Tape a bit longer either end. Flip over. We're running out of room now. And then pencil lines together. Put the boards over each other. Line up the edges. And then take the whole thing down and over. Press on the board. Open it out. Pull it flat. And bring your tails in. Cover the gap and fold it over. So then if we turn it the right way round so that you've got the narrow piece on the left, you're going to fold it up and you should have your holes together, whether you've got chipboard or the MDF covers. Now we're going to add the magnets. So you take a piece of tape. So adding the magnets, you want to take a piece of tape and you want to be working on the inside, so side that you've got your pencil lines, and you put a piece of tape over both of those holes on the right hand cover piece. Flip it over, take two magnets and just press one into each hole. Doesn't matter which way they go. And then just cover those holes with a little bit of tape to keep the magnets in. Again, all of this gets hidden. And then you want to bring this cover over. Oh no, before you bring this cover over, put a piece of tape on the inside over the holes. Again, all of this is going to get covered up, so it doesn't have to be an exact square. Bring that over so that it sits over the top of the other two holes, and then bring in your other two magnets and, oops, dropped it. Just let it attract to the first and just slide it into the hole. Let's do the other one. slide it into the hole, and then cover those holes with your tape. And that is your magnetic closure inserted. So now you've got the beginnings of the box. If you want to just press down on the spines and the top edges. Ta-da! So now we're going to open that up. And that is the box. So put the box to one side and bring back in your little box that you've stuck together. And we're going to tape the outside of it. So the first thing to do is to go around each of the corners and put vertical strips of tape, half on, half off, fold them tightly around the corner and trim off the top and bottom edges, level with the edge of the chipboard or the wood. Nice and tight around the corners. And then if your glue hasn't completely dried, you can just reposition that end piece if you need to. Let's pull 2 pieces of tape off. So nice tight crease around the corner, snip off the ends. Don't worry if you've got little bits sticking out, you can just flatten them down. Oops. Last one. Like that. And then we're going to take the tape, half on, half off, all the way around, but start part way along an edge, long or short edge, and then just take that tape all the way around, sticking it half on, half off the 4 edges, and then just come back and overlap the joint. Here. Press down all the way round, and then take your scissors and just cut up at the corner angles. So you're cutting up to the board or the MDF. And then just, if you lift the sides out and fold the ends in, lift the sides out and fold the ends down, and then take your scissors and just snip the corners off, those long sides, and then fold those over. Then you get a really nicely decorated edge to your box. And then you can just sort of press it down from the inside. And then do the same again. Let's just move that, we've got a bit of a shadow going on. And then do the same again around the top edge. So start part way down the side, half on, half off, all the way round. Again, it's going to get covered, so it doesn't have to be perfectly level. But if you want it level, then I would draw a pencil line at ½ an inch all the way along your edges. So overlap the joint, press the tape down on all sides, take your scissors, get rid of any little bits, cut up to the corners, so you're cutting up to the wood. take the ends out, fold the end right in, take the sides out rather, fold the end in first, make sure that it's nice and tight and sitting straight in the corners, snip off the ends of the long side, just at a slight angle, and then take that up and round. Make sure that you've got a really nice edge covering your chipboard or your wood, and then press down firmly on the inside. And then just snip off the last two corners. And then go up and over. And then press the tape down nicely all the way around the top. So that is the little box for the book, the album, to sit in. So now we're ready to put that into our box. So bring your cover back in and make sure that you have got the narrow flap to the left, and the box is going to sit right at the bottom between the two side spines, and you fold over and fold over. So you want to take some glue and just put it all over one long side. So not the narrow, one deeper side, not the narrow bottom bit. And then glue gives you some wiggle room, so I've just put it down over the bottom edge of the album cover. I'm going to bring the sides up and make sure that that's sitting between them, and then I'm going to stand the whole thing up and press that box down so that it's sitting right at the bottom edge. So jiggle around with yours, make sure that the whole thing is sitting between the spines. Press it down from the inside, and it wants to be level with the bottom edge of the centre album cover here. And then put it to one side to dry. You can shut it up if you want to, and then that keeps the box nicely in the bottom there. And that's it. That is the book box. So assembling the album cover, if you're working with chipboard, you might want to round the corners of your two cover pieces. So take a corner rounder that will go through your chipboard. Mine has had a slight accident, but I'm going to use the 1/4 inch corner rounder and just round two of the corners along one long edge on both. And then all my pages in the album are going to be shaped with the same 1/4 inch corner rounder. If you've got the MDF covers, then you will, they're shaped already. Then we want to edge our pieces. So take your tape, and just like we did for the spine and the other pieces, you want to edge top and bottom on your spine piece. Actually, with this being 1 inch, you can just go up and over because the outer sides are going to be covered. So if you want to do that, just up and over, that works. And then we're going to go round the covers in one go. So we're going to start at a straight angled or right angled corner, take your tape and put it half on, half off, and press it down, but don't pinch it either side. So just press it down so that it sticks to the edge of the cover, and then turn and go around the corner. Don't pull too hard, otherwise the tape will split. You can always join it, and then turn, come along to the last corner and cut off. And untangle yourself from the tape. So on the corners, you just want to do a couple of snips as that curve starts to go round the corner on all 4 sides. So trying really carefully not to let the tape stick to the chipboard or board as you're doing that. And then, edge by edge, you can pinch, let me just keep those little tabs out, pinch the tape down onto the both sides of the board, pinch your little corner pieces in, so take them in at an angle. You might want to lift up the ends of the straight edge, and then do the same with the other end. So lift up those little tabs, stick the shorter edge down, then press the little tabs down, so get these edges out of the way, and then do that long edge. And then you've got perfectly decorated round corners. So let's just do that again. So start at a right angle corner with your tape, half on, half off, the top edge of the board, press it down to hold it in place, but pinch either side of your board, turn and gently just unravel the tape and press. Turn, unravel, press and cut off. And then just do 2 little nicks at the corners on both sides, just where the curve starts, like that, and like that, and then stand your piece up, bring those little bits out of the way and press down both sides of the short edge. Then turn around completely, lift those little bits up, press down, then bring your corners down at an angle at both ends. You might want to lift the sides out of the way, and then bring your long side down, and then you've got really nice decorated corners. So now we're ready to add these pieces to the spine. So just like before, we're going to start with the spine, and we're going to put a long piece of tape straight down one side, half on, half off, with little bits sticking out at either end, your inch. Bring one cover in, position it over the spine, line up the edges. You can do that with your fingers, and then hold them together, lift up, press both edges down onto your surface, flip away from you and press down, open out, bring the tails over and cover the middle. And then bring that over, and then flip over again. Last piece, oh no, last but one piece, so don't forget your ends, half on, half off. Bring the other spine cover in, line it up so it sits over the spine, press on your surface and fold away from you or towards you, whichever way you're going. Open out, bring your tails in, and now this really is the last piece, and cover that centre. I'm just going to cut that little bit off, and then bring that over, and that is your funky little album. If you want to stop your album from falling out of the box once it's all decorated, you may want to add a magnet now, before it gets decorated, to the back of the album cover and the box. So to do that, you want to just take one magnet and stick it about 1.5 inches, 2 inches down from the top of the centre section above this box, and stick it in place with some tape. Then take a long piece of tape, put it sticky side facing you, tricky to unstick yourself from it. It's all right once the magnet's in place, so that you've got tape sticking up over the top edge of the back of the box. Bring your album in, spine to the left, pop it into the box, press it down so that it's sitting at the bottom of the box, and then press the back cover down onto the magnet and just bring that piece of tape up and over, and then slide the album out. And then you can take off the tape that you've brought up and over. No, don't take it off before you've stuck the bottom section down. So let's do it again. So slide that in, press down, just bring the top of the tape over onto the album cover, slide it away, press the tape down in place, and then you can get rid of the bit that goes over the top of the album cover. That way, that magnet will stay in place. So then it won't fall out. If you want double security, you could put 2 magnets in place on the back like that. But another key thing to do, which is what I forgot to do, was write F on the front of my album when I did my other project. So my magnet ended up on the front. So I know if I've written F on the front, that's the way my album goes when I come to decorate it, not this way, and that's where my magnet ended up. So just a sort of top tip, having made the project a couple of times, my only thing that I wasn't happy about was that the album did slide out. Let me show you this one. Like that. So if you want it to stay in, the magnets are the trick. So just in case you were unsure on how to cut your pieces for your pages in this little album, I thought I'd show you in my trimmer. This trimmer has got a score blade at the one end and a cutting blade at the other, both of which sit outside of the cutting area, which is really useful. This is our Daisy's paper trimmer. So I've taken one piece of A4 card, and you need to do this with 4, as it says in the instructions for your 4 pages. And measuring along the long edge, you cut it at 8.5, and then turn the card and cut it at 7 3/4. Like that. And then it says you want to score along the long edges. So first of all, we're going to fold the short edges together. So these are the two 7 3/4 edges. So if you fold them together, do that. And then take your bone folder and just crease that fold nicely. Then when you open up, you want the fold horizontally, and you're going to score at either side of the piece. Now, if you've got a score blade and a cutting blade, you want to cut off half of that scored section up to the fold on one side of the card, and then cut that little piece off. And then you want to score the other way. So I've got this little tab at the bottom on the left. I'm going to score and cut on the other side here. So I'm going to cut down to the fold line and score up to it, and then cut that little piece off. Now I've got my two tabs on the same side of the paper. That's absolutely fine. You could have one on one side and one on the other. It depends how you've put your card back into your trimmer. And then you want to crease these little fold lines. So let's move the trimmer out of the way. So I'm just going to crease them with my bone folder. And then I'm going to fold the whole thing up. So that's our little page. And round all of the corners. Or not. Doesn't want to do it. I'm going to stand up and do it. It does help. Please excuse the glue in here. It's got to be scrubbed. And that is the little page. And then you take some glue or some double-sided tape, put it on the tabs, not so much as will ooze out, and stick the middle of the page together. And then take your bone folder and just press over the tabs to stick them together. To stick both sides of the page together, and then just check that your page hasn't stuck itself on the inside, and that is your little page. So you want 4 of those. 1, 2, 3, and I've got one more here with my guide on. So let's just stick this one together. Nobody will know that's inside. And then I'm just going to burnish the fold lines. And that is it. 4 little pages for the album. So now let's bring the whole album back in. So it's a bit quirky, this album. It goes together in a funny way. And I'll talk you through that in a minute. But the first thing you want to do is to put that cover onto the spine, and that just gives a little bit more structure to this flippy floppy album cover. So you want to take your 4" by 7 1/4" piece, put tape all the way around one edge, all edges on one side if you haven't already, and then 4 strips of tape either side of that spine, or the gap between spine and covers, and use your tape as a guide, top and bottom, these sort of lines. You don't need to go any further up or down. Take your backing strips off. She says. Like that. I did burnish these actually. You know what a pain they are to get off. And they seem to be easier to lift off. And then take all of the backings off your oblong piece. This I prefer to do with tape rather than glue, because the stick is instant. And then you want to centre this piece between the top and bottom edges and stick it down. Press firmly over all the tape strips. firmly along the top and the bottom, and then just lift one cover up, fold it over just gently, and then do the same with the other one, and you'll see the card will automatically sort of drop into those creases, or the gutters, gaps, and then your album has got more structure to it. So now to add the spine mounts, let's just show you. They go together in a funny way. We have got the outside one that has the little section to the left, the wider scored section in the centre, and then the longest of the side tabs. And then we've got the middle one that's got a wider and a narrower, so wider to the left, narrower to the right than the piece it's going to be stuck over. So crease and burnish your folds. I'm just going to rub off my measurements. And then crease that other fold. And then that little flat section in the centre is where you put your glue. So crease and burnish all your fold lines, score lines. And then this little piece here is going to sit in between those two score lines on that piece. So a little bit of glue on here, just this flat section, she says, as she goes down the side. Smooth it out. Make sure it's covering the whole surface. And then making sure that you've got the narrower flap to the left on both pieces. You want to stick this top section over the bottom section, lining up the top and bottom edges and making sure that it's sitting nice and straight with an even gap between the crease lines on both sides. And once it's sitting nice and straight, press the pieces together. Like that. Mine needs a trim. And then I have rounded all of the corners on these pieces. The whole of this little album has got rounded corners. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. So now I've trimmed that, I just need to reshape the corners. So bear with. Let's just move that over here. 1, 2, 3, 1 to go. More pencil lines to rub out. Or pencil marks. Okay, so let's get it the right way. So when it goes together, the 4 spines are staggered and they're all 1/2 inch narrower or wider than the one that they sit over, which I thought was a bit different. So we can stick this into the album now. So you want to go right to the back to the wide section, put glue on that. How about I just go down the centre? I'm dangerous when I go near the edges. Smooth it off. Make sure that you cover the whole of that centre section, and then making sure that you've got the narrowest spine to the left. You want to line this piece up with the top and bottom edge of the black card already in place and stick it on down. And again, the nice thing about doing this with glue is you have got some time to move things about. before it completely sticks. So I think that's in nice and straight. I might just move it slightly at the bottom. And again, I'm just going to use my bone folder just to press the whole piece into place. And that is it. Now the quirky thing with this little album is that the pages sit on the spine, but they don't go right to the top and bottom, and the paper needs to go onto the spine mounts before you stick on the pages, just so that the pages are sitting on a little bit of decoration. So let me just trim these down. They don't seem to be quite the right length. That's fine. Maybe I won't stick them down actually. No, I will. I will. These are just odd pieces of paper, so they don't go with an album, but if I stick this one in place and then I show you a finished album, you'll see what I mean. Where's the bone folder? So put your paper... So I would hold off until you've cut these paper pieces. I wouldn't put your pages into your album, but I'll show you how to do it so that you can come back to this section of the video when you've cut your little pieces. Let's just stick those on. And stick these on. Just a little bit too long. Let's just trim it down. This is why my little punch gets so sticky, because I put paper back into it that's got glue on it. Let's check this one is too long again. Let's trim it down. I'm sure yours will be perfect. So this paper is from the Imagine collection by Graphic 45. One of my favourites. I loved it. Now, so they're all on. And then when the pages sit on, you can see part of that spine. So let me show you a finished little book and then you will get the gist of what I'm talking about. If I move that one up there, bring this one in over the top, move the glue. So we'll start with the back page. So it's the back page that goes on first, and it gets stuck onto the spine 7/8 of an inch across, or 3/4 of an inch across from the edge of the paper on the spine. So let's do that. And this one is the guide to putting all of the other pages on. So to prep your pages, you want to put double-sided tape on the underside of the back. So you want the pocket opening to the right, and then flip over. Do you have to flip over? No, it doesn't matter, but as long as the pocket opening is to the right, you can put tape down the left-hand edge. Like this. Tape goes down the folded side of the page, of all 4 pages. So let's do that. 1, 2, Last one. And 4. So that's the pages taped. Then bring in your ruler and a pencil. Go to the back tab and measure in 3/4 of an inch. So these Tim Holtz rulers are fabulous for doing this. You can see through and draw your line really easily. So 3/4 of an inch from the edge of the paper, and that is going to be the line that you follow to stick your page in place. So when you stick the page in place, you want to centre it between the top and bottom edge of the spine mount and have the crease along that pencil line. So let's do that. Now before I stick the page down, I'm just going to hold it over the top and put a little bit of glue just along the top and bottom edge of the spine mount where the page is going to sit, and that creates the pocket. So you've got the tape creating the inner edge of the pocket and the glue the outer edge. And then follow the line, centre your page and stick it down. Then flip spine number 2 towards the back of the book. Take the tape off the underside of your page, and if you want to put a little bit of glue top and bottom, it only needs a tiny little bit for this one because it's a really narrow little pocket that gets created. And then you line up the top and bottom of the page, line up the right hand side or right hand edge with the pencil line on the page underneath and stick it in place. And then bring the last little flap over, bring your last page in, take the tape off the back. And this one is really narrow, so you don't need to add any extra glue at the top and the bottom. You just line up the top and bottom edge of the page, line up the pencil line with the right hand edge and press down. And then you've got all of your pages in, sitting on really fancy spines, all staggered. So when you put your photo mats in the pages, I don't want to go in, they're staggered as well, which I thought was quite funky. It's just So that's how to make the little album. Have fun if you are decorating it yourself, and enjoy following along with the tutorial if you are decorating it in one of the styles that I've done projects for. Thanks very much for shopping with us and enjoy.